What is the fattest thing you've ever done? Like the thing that you would be like ashamed to admit? Because I have a really fat moment, I'll tell you.
I've never been ashamed of any of this.
Well, there's something I did that I'm ashamed of.
You start, and then I will blow them away with several different.
Well,
things.
mine's not quantity.
Okay, go for it.
You know, I'm not
like something out of garbage.
Yeah.
You are a raccoon. You really are.
Not like public garbage, but I had a roommate.
Okay.
And he had Raising Cane's. And he only ate like 2 chicken fingers out of the 4.
Yeah.
And the entire pizza toast was there, and it was on the top of it was in the garbage in our house, but it was on the top. And I was starving, and we had no food, and it was like 11 o'clock, and I opened up his Cane's and ate all of it.
All right, I probably did that Tuesday. Like, I have no shame.
I mean, that's embarrassing. I ate out of the trash.
Box? Like, the tenders were still in their box? There's nothing embarrassing about that. That's fair game.
Like, you know, who eats out of the garbage can?
Me.
And I also once got Taco Bell back in like 10 years ago as an appetizer with my buddy on the way to pick up Pizza Hut.
that sounds like something teenage Andy would have done.
Yeah. So all right, so let's hear your all
right. So Brandon Simmons in the chat is asking, back in the day, how much Popeyes could you eat, Andy? I used to eat a 6-piece family meal for me in college, large red beans and rice and large mashed potatoes. I will say 2 years ago. So yes, 2 years ago. So I was covering the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, and the Popeyes on Canal Street is a special place for me. When I was a college freshman and was on a team that played in the Sugar Bowl, I was not aware that we got per diem for the entire week. And so they hand me an envelope full of cash, and they're like, yeah, this is for meals. And it was a lot of money to me at the time. It was like $300. And so naturally, a lot of the players, knowing, you know, who've done this before, knowing they're going to provide us every meal anyway, they go to Ruth's Chris with it the first night. I'm like, I got to save some of this. I'm going to buy books when I get home for the second semester. So I ate every meal that we didn't have provided for us at the Popeyes on Canal Street. So I wanted to kind of just some memories and celebrate. And so 2 years ago, I got an 8-piece for myself with red beans and rice. And I think I did the fries instead of mashed potatoes, but I ate it all. So you asked for fat moments. You ready?
And it's not always about quantity. It's also could be about despicable things that you've done. Like my buddy ate a cupcake. My buddy, for instance, this is his fattest moment. I won't tell you his name because he's embarrassed by it. But his defense mechanism for not overeating is by throwing something away so that it's not in his house anymore. And he took a cupcake and threw it into the public dumpster behind his apartment complex.
Okay, if he went back
a few hours later, he went back into the dumpster, got the cupcake, and ate it.
That's just stupid. That's just poor planning.
But that isn't a quantity. Like you could say I had 19 number ones at Burger King in one sitting. Like that's fine. But like deplorable fat moments don't always have to be about quantity. It could also just be deplorable.
But for me, it is about quantity. I've already said anything that's on the top of the trash is fair game. Anything that's in the box in the trash is absolutely fair game.
I just don't know what kind of psychopath throws away chicken fingers.
Exactly. Now, have you ever eaten a pickle off of a room service tray that somebody left out after they were done?
I have not. And that's also like the least desirable thing on the plate.
Gosh, if you've had a few drinks and you're coming back to your hotel room and somebody puts their room service leftovers out there.
At what point does
untouched dill pickle? That's fair game.
Have you ever eaten anything else off of someone else's room service tray?
Yes, like an untouched chicken finger or some fries. Absolutely.
I've never done that, but I also
left it out there.
But I've also never. I don't think I've ever seen such a bountiful haul of
you'd be
untouched
shocked what
food.
People don't eat when they order room service, because a lot of times they've been working all day and they're tired, so they just fall asleep and they're ready to eat, ready to go to bed. So they realize they've over ordered and they just leave it out there, or they're drunk and didn't really eat much and realized that they ordered too much and they just leave it out there. So it's fine, but I'll give you a couple. So in high school, when my mom would come home from work, sometimes she'd stop by Long John Silver's and she'd say, do you want your usual? My usual was 10 chicken planks and what they called fries for $4.
Dude, and those are heavy. Dude, like those chicken planks at Long John Silver's, it's been a long time since I've eaten there, but I know that the batter that they put those in, it's not lightly breaded. Those are heavy.
It's the fish batter.
Yeah,
it's batter essentially. It's delicious.
I think one plank of chicken though is probably the equivalent of 2 normal fingers.
Yeah, so I would eat 10 of those and what they called fries for $4, which was basically 4 medium fries, all in one bag.
And that was your Mountain Dew days too, right?
That was my Mountain Dew days. Oh, and by the way, that would be, she'd get home from work about 5. I'd eat that and then probably eat again at like 8 o'clock that night. So my son was trying to ask me because my son, it was interesting. Today comes home from school and says, I want a salad. Can you make me a salad? I'm like, heck yeah, absolutely. That's a great choice. So I made him a salad with some chicken and some cut up apples, and it was delicious. And he's like, and he's never been a salad person. He's like, why have I not been eating this? I'm like, I don't know. We eat a lot of salads in this house and they're available. And so now he's like, oh, I definitely want to do this. I'm like, dude, you are you're doing great. You're making much better choices than I did as a kid. And he's like, well, how bad was it really? I was like, I'll give you an example. After school, when I had my driver's license, I would go to the Wendy's, and they had 99-cent quarter-pound double stacks at Wendy's in the mid 90s.
I remember those. Yeah,
4 of those, large fry, large frosty. That was after school at like 2:30
on the way home before you had dinner,
and I would eat dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting about and then
I got one more.
Oh, you got one more. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
So
you're making me feel better about my Cane's incident.
I don't even think you could do this anymore because of the price of chicken wings. But in Gainesville, there's a place called Gators Dockside, and they used to have an all-you-can-eat wing night on Monday nights. It was, I believe, $7.95 for all-you-can-eat wings. This was the early 2000s. My wife was in grad school at the time. We went with a bunch of her classmates. And one of the guys who was one of her classmates was an ex-bartender, ex-paramedic. Like, one of those big old dudes. He's not fat, just big old dude, liked to eat. He and I got into a little wing eating competition. We each ate about 75 wings. Then we walked across the street to Cold Stone. I got a large, the gotta have it size, in a waffle bowl with a brownie on top of it mixed in. Ate all that, and then went to the gym and ran 5 miles on the treadmill.
Yeah, I mean, if I did that, I would be dead for the night.
It was amazing. It was delicious too.
It's not just so much that what's impressive isn't so much the amount of food that you can eat. It's the activities that you do after the food has been consumed.
But that's why I do it.
But like usually people who eat that much food are in a coma afterward. It's called a carb coma or a food coma for a reason. Yeah. Like when I eat that stuff, I'm like, I can't even get up to like tie my shoes at that
That's
point.
The thing. You got to keep moving because I fall asleep after Thanksgiving dinner just like everybody else. Like
after you ate that Chompy's meal and I'll never forget that you went and covered a game. Like I don't even know how you were able to do that.
It was corned beef sliders on challah.
6 corned beef sliders. That it must have been a pound of corned beef.
Didn't I also have a corned beef?
And then you had a
sandwich,
corned beef and pastrami mile-high sandwich on top of it, and ate both portions of fries on both plates. Oh, and then I think you had a cookie.
I ate Landis's fries.
You ate Landis's fries too, and then you had a cookie. I think.
Yeah,
it must have been 4 pounds of actual food.
It was amazing. It was so good.
But I was going to say, the thing that's interesting about your Long John Silver's days, Andy, is if you actually were to think, like, what is the most unhealthy thing a human being could put in their body?
That's pretty much it.
That's it, right? Like, there's nothing worse on the face of the earth than that in terms of the oil, the breading, the batter, the fries, all that stuff. Like, it's the worst possible meal a person can have.
And I don't do this anymore. And I don't recommend anybody does this, by the way. It's just... like I make much better choices now.
You're a motivational speaker now.
Yeah, you've seen the pictures on Instagram. Like I make better choices now. I like the way I look now. I do not want to go back to the way I used to look. I'm not going to do it. That said, I do work out a lot still. I can still put it away when I need to, but just not nearly at the volume I used to.